For any project and really any sort of creative undertaking, you're going to be dealing with some form of storytelling, even with a still photograph or a painting, believe it or not. Traditional storytelling is usually written in 3 acts. This tends to quote-unquote work, but by all means don't feel like you need to adhere to this. Beginning, middle, and end. Essentially, and in most Western literature, these round off to Act 1, Introduction, Act 2, Conflict, and Act 3, Resolution. And we can imagine this in a series of quick sketches, and you'll see these same principles in most stories that we're familiar with over and over again. So, first, it's figuring out the story that you want to tell. It's always best for me just to sit down and write, just unfiltered ideas on a page, whether they make sense or not. I'll usually go back in a day or so and review what I've written, and at that point, be able to start forming and shaping my story. And hopefully these elements of your story come together to elaborate in a certain sort of theme. A technique I use is to have a pocket-sized pad handy and jot down any and all ideas I may get, even ones that just seem silly and disjointed. For me, this exercise of capturing these random thoughts seems to lock them away in a sort of safety deposit box of ideas that I can always go back and explore. For instance, I'd come across this photo of an abandoned shopping mall, and it just haunted me for some reason. I knew that image would be something I'd want to revisit at some point. So let's do an exercise of assembling our story. And we'll start with our setting. A suburban street. A group of kids. A new bike. Bike gets stolen. So, I have my basics, but let's say I want to include that abandoned shopping mall in some way. I'll have the kids live nearby maybe, and they're all scared of that mall. So our kid, he gets his bike stolen, and he finds out he has to enter this abandoned mall to get his bike back. Now we have our conflict. Say he goes on a bit of an adventure in this mall, and in which case is the unknown. The kid finds his bike, we have our resolution, and the kid, upon leaving the shopping mall, is now changed. Now, I believe you can insert all sorts of characters and ideas into this story, but again, I'm using a very classical theme here. In this case, the hero or heroine's journey. But there's many other routes we could have taken this story. And when you're ready to visually break down your story, you'll want to create a series of storyboards. What these do is allow the director to interpret the script in visual terms, composition, timing, and camera moves, a sort of visual blueprint. Your story can be told as a series of backgrounds with your main character as the focus, just rambling on about nothing. Assigned for your main narrative, you can use camera moves in ways to underline either some sort of comedy or tragedy. A good exercise is to try and write a piece where there's no dialogue at all, and your entire story is being told by facial expressions, colors, and imagery. For some great reading on story and writing, I recommend The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield and Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. And again, don't worry about having the right materials or waiting to buy the best equipment, just start by getting your ideas into paper and start now.